Hey gang, today we are going to be making one of my favorite quick and easy customs, my magnetic Spider-Man. So we're going to pop some magnets in his feet, and we're also going to use some of these tools up here to give him some web effects in case you don't like the spaghetti webs or you don't want to pay for them or you're feeling more creative. But I'm going to show you how to do all of that and more, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Materials we're going to need obviously is going to be a Spider-Man. Then we'll need some of those craft magnets we had for the Captain America. This is what they're going to look like. Treehouse Studios makes them. I believe they're probably a brand that's owned or has an exclusivity deal with Hobby Lobby, but they're 3mm, so if you wanted to know that in search other places, there you go. Get some elite coated picture wire, lead-free solder, or just some music wire from Hobby Lobby. This is from Radio Shack because it's super old, but you can find it at hardware stores, things like that. For some web effects, so we'll look at those in a little bit, but these are the basic things you'll need. You'll need some tools as well, so let's go ahead and take a look at what you'll need. As far as tools are concerned, some needle nose pliers are always super handy for the magnets and putting them in. Sprue cutters are super great for cutting that wire down and not leaving a really weird flat sharp edge. This also, being entirely metal, works for magnets as well. And then you might need some drill bits to drill out the holes in the feet just a little bit. I wouldn't recommend using a drill for this, honestly. It's one of those things is you gotta be really careful because that foot is real thin. So being able to just carve it out just a little is probably your best bet. So doing it by hand, just grab a cloth, grab the drill bit size you're going to need to widen that hole up and you'll be okay. So the easy part's going to be putting the magnet in the feet of the Spider-Man in question. Now most of them you're not going to have to widen up the holes in the bottom of the feet. Some of them you might have to, just depending on. Something to note is if it is too loose in the actual hole, no matter whether it's this or Captain America, you will need to secure it with super glue. These magnets that we're using here today and that I used for my Captain America are, don't know if you can see if I can get it to focus here. 10 strength rating, so the strongest magnets that at least Hobby Lobby carries. So they do stick together quite well, so just kind of make a note of that. But take a sprue clippers or the needle nose pliers, either work fine. I like the sprue clippers because they're flat, so it is a little easier to kind of be able to push the magnet in. Pick up some magnets. Now luckily with these it's not as big of a deal if you get one backwards, but find the hole on the peg and just gently apply pressure until you get it in, and bam. Super easy, real quick, and it adds a lot of playability to your Spider-Man. If I can get this one. Oop. Give me a second, guys. What we're gonna do next, since that magnet didn't want to fit, and this is a great opportunity, at least without a lot of pressure, take a drill bit that'll match up about to the size of the magnet. So just take the drill bit and pretty close, probably actually do just a hair bigger, just to make sure we get the spacing we need. You take that. Like I said, I wouldn't use a drill in this instance, just go ahead and match it up to his foot, and then just twist it around a little bit. You're going to see some shavings come out, so I'd advise you to do this over something clean, or something that you can throw away fairly easily. And as you can see, it leaves a nice round hole. And then you just press that bad boy on in. Go ahead and set the magnet aside here, since we're done with those. And we're going to press this magnet in because you can see it's sticking out just a little bit. Oops. Now this is the instance where you'll want to use super glue on one side to hold it in there because friction is not currently doing so. And like I said, they're pretty strong, so. Interesting. But yeah, super glue on one side will hold it in, and then you could magnet this bad boy pretty much anywhere you want that's magnetic. So let's take a look at how that actually works. So as you can see, any magnetic surface, he's going to hold up pretty well. You can pretty much get him standing straight vertically out. You have to be a little careful though, because if you move the weight a little too fast, he does fall off. So let's go ahead and hold him down here and see if the magnets will stick once I get him upside down. And as you can see, he's upside down and does fall if you wiggle it a little too much, but if you're putting them on a magnetic display, it's going to hold pretty well. Now you might be able to get some stronger magnets. I'm not 100% sure where you're going to find those. Maybe a hobby store might hold some, but as you can kind of see, the more substantial the surface, the easier this is, but he does stand up pretty well. So just something to keep in mind. Don't move him around a ton. This is definitely not something to try to animate with, just because one magnet is not enough to hold him in, and you can actually see one of them came out. So the magnets are strong, but they're not strong enough to counterweight to the rest of the figure in all scenarios. Most scenarios you're fine. As far as testing goes, for like a fridge is usually how I test him, to make sure he's standing upright. But yeah, so that's that stage of it. So let's take a look at how to make some pretty decent webbing effects. The good thing about making your own custom ones is you can make them the way you want them. So if you want really thin, light, kind of wire-looking type stuff from the movies, you can definitely do that. Or if you like the 90s McFarlane spaghetti web type thing, you can still do that, or just purchase it, do spaghetti web. But we have 3 different materials here today that can help us make our own custom stuff. Most all of mine I use is the lead-free solder here. Like I said, you can find it at most hardware stores, hobby stores. Hobby Lobby I don't think is going to have a bunch of variety, but they might carry it. I'm not 100% sure. Oh, they do. They have other containers of this, so you can get different thicknesses. But let's go ahead and take a look at how to do it with the first thing we're going to want to do is determine how long we want this. Now what I typically do is I double this up at least once. So say we wanted a fairly short web, kind of like he was doing some kind of action. That looks like it would be fine. But really what you want to do is find the length you want and bend it, and then match that up. Because if you're wanting it to go any distance at all, having the very, very thin stuff is not going to do real well for you, honestly. Just because it can't hold up under its own weight. So these are great for connecting to different parts of your display. Not as much so, at least in this kind of a thin scenario, in terms of just standing on their own. Just because they're not as sturdy as some of the other materials we have here today. But if you wanted to go crazy, and I've done this several times, and you don't want to connect this to anything else, another part of your display, a hook, a shelf, a command hook, then what you can do is double it up again. So it will be shorter, but see, we have a nice webbing look. But if you want it to stand on its own, I usually leave just a little loop right here for the peg of the hand to go through. You can wind that up if you need to. But we'll say right there's the loop, right there's the end point of the web, and then we just do that same process over again. And it's going to be a little bit more substantial, so it'll hold its weight better. You do get closer to the spaghetti web look right here, but it is substantial enough that once you peg it into its hand, it'll look better freestanding. So let's do is pop that hand off for your little flipping effect. Wrap that loop around the little base of the peg, and then you're going to just plug this bad boy right back in, which on this one's going to be a little harder because it's kind of a pain. There we go. Which will give you a nice kind of more realistic effect without it being bunched up. So let me get him posed real quick, then I'll adjust the camera. Sorry for the lack of ease of use here, I suppose would be. But yeah, so as you can see, it stands on its own. It's very nice. It's short, but it is thicker. So that is one way to kind of get the spaghetti web. The solder here is not very expensive, nor a pair of sprue clippers. And once again, like I said, they don't leave a lot of sharp edges all over the web, so you're not going to cut your hands up using this. Now let's go ahead and take a look at one of the other materials. Coated picture wire was a first for me, honestly, and I always thought it'd be good, but I didn't count on the fact that it is a lot harder to cut, so you're pretty much stuck with the 9 feet that I'm stuck with the 9 feet I bought. So that is something to be wary of. It does look really nice though, if you like the thicker kind of spaghetti web, but you don't want it to be as messy. Real nice, real thick, but it's just a little kind of wiry and crazy. This would honestly be better. Once again, it's going to take forever to cut through one of these, but this would actually work better for Daredevil's batons. So, side note, keep a lookout for this because it's going to come back in that Daredevil video. But let's look at the next. I have the music wire that's going to be in the hobby aisle of Hobby Lobby. A lot sturdier, so it does give you the sturdiness of that picture wire without the craziness of it, and the really thin illusion that the solder gave you. So here's just kind of a piece of it. You can see this little bouncy, whoop, sorry, didn't mean to hit the camera. You're gonna have to use some needle nose pliers to wrap it around. So wrap it around. Also probably need to tighten it up a little bit to get it around that peg properly without it being too much of a pain. Okay, I can get it out here, so we'll see if this works. Alrighty. A lot harder to bend, so this is going to be something that is going to hold its own weight better, but it is something to worry about if you want to make the spaghetti web style effect. Now if you're wanting something like what we got in the movies, where it's like aircraft wire or something of that nature, you'll probably like this better, because it is just a clean wire. Like I said, you're going to have to use needle nose pliers. I'm kind of having time over here behind the camera doing this myself. As you see, I did manage to get it around the wrist. It is a little messy though. And let's go ahead and pop this on. See what kind of effect we get out of this thing. Do this without poking myself in the eye. There we go. Okay. So once I get it on the wrist here, move this aside. I'm going to want to adjust it. And this is probably the least malleable material, so this is going to be really good if you're wanting, like I said, the kind of effect, and if you want to connect it to something else. It is freestanding, but it's super hard to bend, so be kind of cautious about that. My favorite by far is still the lead solder. It's lightweight, it's manipulable, you can get it in different thicknesses, so if you do want something a little thicker, a little more stable, you can do that. But yeah, so that is the basic rundown of how I make those things. So let's go ahead and wrap everything up and talk about what we're closing this out here. We have, let me adjust this light a little bit, there we go. A really nice web effect and a magnetic Spidey, which I think works really well together. Pretty easy to do. Once again, with these modifications, you can pretty much do things your own way. This is just kind of a tutorial to get you started, and hopefully you see some cool stuff come out of it. But let me know what you guys liked in the comments down below, whether you would prefer to go with one of the other types of wires or just go with spaghetti webs, or try this out yourself. And let me know what you think about the magnets and the whole series, the whole process and everything. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more videos like this. I've got Daredevil one coming up. I'm going to film pretty soon, so pretty excited about that one, and then some DBZ stuff after that. Be sure to check me out on Facebook and Instagram for pictures and photo albums and things like that, polls. And lastly, Wordpress for character breakdowns and things of that nature. Thanks for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.